And what this is ultimately going to show itself as is the power on land of the Spartans versus the power on sea of the Athenians. And also the thrust of the entire paragraph, and following from the previous paragraph, which itself is a culmination of the entirety of all the paragraphs so far, is that we see in the archaeology itself, which is to say these first opening 20 or so paragraphs, a parallel to what we're going to see in that most famous, if not most infamous, speech that's given by Pericles, namely the funeral oration, where he holds Athens itself up as the paradigm or mind revealing itself for all the Greeks to imitate. He's going to say that Athens is the school of Hellas, which is to say all of Greece is to learn from the way in which mind shows itself in Athens. But we're not there yet. But let's just point out here that absolutely everything about the archaeology, as we've been studying it here very meticulously, is pointing towards Pericles' funeral oration. And what that means is that the coming into being of the greatness that is Greekness, as we've been covering it here in the archaeology, is to be compared with what we're going to find in Pericles' funeral oration. But I'll have a lot more to say about that once we get to the end of the archaeology, because what's going to happen is that Thucydides is going to end the archaeology, which is to say he's going to end the logos or the argument that he's been providing in all these paragraphs about the coming into being of the greatness of the Greeks to their height at the Peloponnesian War, by turning to a discussion of what's going to make the rest of his entire inquiry so very unique and what we have not at all seen in the archaeology up to this point. Namely, he's going to address why it is that the text itself is so full of speeches by all the various people in the Peloponnesian War. In other words, Thucydides is going to give us an account of what's so important to understand about what we would otherwise think of as the literary character of the text. And so he's going to turn us back to our initial observations about how it is that Thucydides' Peloponnesian War is not mere history, but it's also not philosophy, neither is it poetry. But we're not quite there yet. We've got just a few more paragraphs to go.